Hey guys, today I want to talk about staying focused in business, and in particular, kind of a vlog style storytelling aspect of mistakes I have made over the years in business for sure that have cost me. And no greater aim to this than if my mistakes can help you, whether you're new to business, you're switching, you're getting into SEO, you're getting really into any kind of business, because rather than speak broadly about the stories I'm going to tell, I'll keep them specific to myself, but ask that you hear them openly in the sense that this applies to any industry of business that you're in. And when I say stay focused, I mean that a lot more deeply than just don't be distracted, don't whatever. Really, what I'm getting at here is be very clear about what it is that you're selling. And if you've been doing this for years, whatever it is that you're doing, you very likely have developed a process, a standard procedure that through a whole lot of trial and error, you have kind of perfected and refined into something that works really well. For me in SEO, a big part of SEO is trial and error, experimentation. And so I am always by necessity trying different things with campaigns. I've certainly had over the years where clients would give input of, I think we should focus here. I don't want to say the things or focus on the things you've suggested. Let's do this instead. Sometimes those were good suggestions. Sometimes they were not. And it either did nothing to move the needle or it actually took us back a step. And so when you continue to refine that after a while, you get comfortable, as I have, with you don't sell a completely prepackaged, this is all you get, it's going to go exactly this way, but more or less, there is a standard procedure that you get to a point where you say, I feel good about this. When I go out and sell it, I know that there's an outcome that I can feel pretty confident in when I'm selling this, that when I shake hands with somebody, this is an outcome I feel good that I can deliver. If I do it my way, if I do it the way that I know works, if you, the client, trust me to have my input to steer the ship the way that I've seen that it works many times. And a lesson that I've learned the hard way quite a few times of breaking my own rule here is if somebody is asking you to go way outside of your wheelhouse, way outside of your standard procedure, it doesn't usually end well. Now, as much as so much of self-development type advice will often tell you, you need to step outside your comfort zone. This is where growth happens. That's true. I'm not arguing that. I've seen, great results from that in my own personal life. But I think professionally, you have to be careful following that advice because it can lead to growth, but it can also lead to being disorganized. Good example. So a lot of the work that I obviously do is writing content for websites, whether it's the core pages to be, zingy and compelling, whether it's writing optimized blog posts, sometimes it's email newsletters, that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's ad copy. This is where I am strongest. It's where I have the most experience. It's where I've had by far the most trial and error, the most A/B experience. I have a very firm grasp of, in my opinion, what works and what doesn't, and a really keen understanding to be able to assume as I'm writing content how it might come across to the reader. I had a situation where somebody I had known for some time came to me and said, I'm doing a podcast. I've been doing this podcast for a while, but I want to really buckle down on the marketing for it. I need you to both help me script the stuff that I'm going to be saying in this podcast, and I want you to help me develop the social media campaign that's going to promote this podcast. I had a feeling about it in the beginning. I'm like, look, in the very beginning of my career, a lot of years ago, I did do social media marketing with people, but I deliberately gave it up at one point so that I could focus on, I only want to write blogs, I only want to write web copy, I want to be as clear and compelling as possible. I want to be the best writer I can be in that way. I'm not really interested in social media. I don't want to water myself down by being there. And so at this point, when this person's asking me this, I'm like, I haven't really, I go on social media as a user. I haven't really been a marketer of social media in a long time. Now, sure, someone with my skills for writing, gun to my head, yeah, I could go on some of these platforms and probably write something pretty decent, but it's not my wheelhouse. But against my better judgment, because I was excited at the idea of working with this person, and so I got in the headspace of working with this guy is important enough that even though he's asking me to do something that's really outside of any of the services that I sell, I'll do it for him. And it did not end up going well. We're still friends to this day, luckily, but the project didn't go well at all. A lot of it just was we didn't understand each other. I don't think I totally got what it is that he wanted from me. And so every time I delivered something that I thought was a solid product, there was always something from his point of view that was like really missing. It didn't hit the mark at all. Him telling me to script his podcast for him, I should have told him right then and there, I'm not going to do that. My opinion is, looking at it from the eyes of the listener, or the ears of the listener, I guess you could say, the podcasts that I find the most interesting are the ones where the person, the host, is bringing a big chunk of themselves authentically to the conversation. The idea that somebody else ghost wrote what they should be saying and they're just more or less following a script kind of is weird to me. I'm not interested in doing that. Why did I take that project? Good question. And his subject matter of his podcast is not something that I personally have a lot of connection to or believe as strongly as he does about some of the things that he's teaching or discussing in it. And so it was difficult for me to try to ghostwrite that, and I think I did probably miss the mark on that, and it really soured the relationship. And the trouble you run into with this is, I could say, well, you didn't actually hire me to do SEO. So this bad experience that we've had together is not a reflection of me as an SEO guy. Unfortunately, I think the way people's minds often view this kind of stuff is they'll just say, well, you are a marketer and I hired you and it didn't go well. Therefore, I'm never going to recommend you for marketing again. And now this stinks because if he has somebody who could use web copy or doing some kind of an SEO program that I would be a good answer for, he's not going to refer me for that project because all his mind thinks of when it thinks of me is this bad experience and this failure. And so now I've really burned a bridge there. And that sort of story has happened for me several times. Same way as, say, if your program, whatever it is that you're selling, is $1,000, and you've carefully priced that out. You know, to do all of the steps that I know work in the way that I have seen work over and over again, I've got to get $1,000. It's the only way to, whatever it is, pay for all the software, the incidentals, pay my team to get the help that I need, what my time is worth, how many hours I know it's going to take to do the good job on it. I have to get $1,000. Well, when somebody says to you, I've only got $500, but I really want to work with you, what kind of stripped down version of your program can you offer me? That's a mistake as well. It's my opinion, guys. Don't do that. I have done that many times early in my career. It's a similar outcome because then you're having to make decisions about, well, I guess I could lose this piece and we could probably spend about half the normal time on this part. And yeah, I guess we could just, bastardize the project in this and such way and then do that. One of two things is going to happen with that. One, it's not going to work because you have your way, your system that you know works, and you're not doing that system. And so you're not going to get the results, or you'll get some results, but it won't be enough results to justify to them the money that they've spent with you. And so they're going to walk away unhappy, and then it's not a good experience for anyone. And then once again, you could say, well, you didn't really buy my quote-unquote real program, so see, you can't really be that mad about it. Well, they will be mad, because in their mind, they've hired you, and it didn't go well. Now they're never going to recommend you. They're never going to speak positively of you. It's a burned bridge. Or two, you'll get some success, and maybe even enough success that they feel okay about the money they spent, but you're not taking any enjoyment or pride in the project because you're thinking to yourself the whole time, this is not what I normally sell. This is not the level of work that excites me, and I constantly feel like I'm making concessions on this project to meet this budget, and it's just really sucking the joy out of it. Why would you want to take a project like that? That's just, it's not good for you either, and that can come at the cost of all of your other projects. When you have a very demanding client or a client that's asking you to do things that you're not comfortable with or that just are not any fun, and every day that you wake up and you're like, oh, I've got to work on this account today, and you're like, Well, that stinks. Now, if you got to work on some other account today, also, your energy is not where it needs to be for those projects. And now all of the rest of your clients are suffering for the decision you've made on that one account. And so that just ends up being like a tough place to put yourself over time with that. I don't recommend it. That's a mistake that I have made many times doing that. And so you do have to kind of have a greater level of discernment and be pickier with your projects. Easier to do when you're not just starting out, understandably. I know when you just open a business, you're thinking, I've got to have clients. I can't be that choosy about it. If that's what you have to do, okay. For me now, this particular business that I'm running, it's been over 3 years since I've launched it. I have a solid client base at this point. It's way easier for me to be that picky now. When I'm talking to a potential client, a couple things that I'm looking for in particular are, what is it that drew you to SEO or these services that I'm offering? Are you coachable? Are you open to somebody else making suggestions on your content? Are you going to trust me when I want to write blog posts a certain way? Now, yeah, if you're a doctor or a lawyer or something, sure, read what I'm writing for you to make sure that I'm on point factually, that I'm not giving bad information out there that's going to embarrass you or whatever. But as long as that part of it is in line, please don't nitpick me on every sentence, on everything. And it's not an ego thing for me. It's not me saying, well, I'm a writer. What do you know? Just go with whatever I say. I am open to feedback and suggestions. But what I can't have is needless nitpicking over, let's change this word to that word, when I'm looking at the change and I'm like, difference that makes to the reader, 0. And we've now spent 45 minutes having a conversation about this. We're stalling this project, wasting so much time just pointlessly editing things that don't help. And then when this project fails from all this wasted time, it's on me. I'm the one holding the bag. I'm the one you're looking at for an explanation. And I can't turn around and just blame you and be like, well, we wasted all this time. It's a bad situation. And so those are things I like to filter out from the beginning. And if I get the sense that that's not going to be a good client, that's going to be somebody there's going to be a lot of resistance there, they're just in some way or another, they're not really ready for SEO or the type of campaign I'm selling, or at least not the way that I do it. Then it becomes a matter of, I don't think you're ready to take this on yet, or maybe you just need to work with somebody else that's not me, that has different criteria. Maybe somebody else is fine with the degree of hands-onness that you want. I do my best work when I'm allowed to be the artist and just do my thing. And my best clients are the ones who accept that and let me run with it. And they're always happy that they do, but they have to be people who are open to that. And so whatever version of that is true for your business, whatever it is that you're doing, that would just be my recommendation. That you get clear on that. And if you're not clear on that now, maybe take a weekend, spend a Saturday afternoon or something, get some sheets of paper out, and just really ask yourself some questions of, is there a pattern to the projects that I've worked on that have gone really well? What things have been the same or consistent in each of the times that things have gone really well? And do the opposite. Let's think of the projects that I've done that have bombed, where the client walked away unhappy, I got fired, I didn't get recommended for another job, whatever it was. Let's think of all the times that's happened, even if there aren't that many of them, and look for commonalities between them. Were there similarities in either the way that I sold the project, or lack of things that we didn't talk about that we should have, or were they asking me to do certain things that were somehow consistent through all those failures? You'd probably be surprised how much pattern there is in all of that is not obvious to you until you're very deliberate about sitting down with paper and asking yourself those questions and writing it down. And there's probably a lot of clarity in that help you get very focused on, okay, so now I know these are the things I need to be selling. Here's probably the way that I need to do it. I can see now here are some real pitfalls in conversations and setting expectations and stuff in the past. Things I've not said, things I have said that I probably shouldn't have said, whatever it is. Now I'm very clear on how this has to go, and I can be firmer in the future about how I run these projects so that they work out. That just, beyond just it helps you keep business, it helps you make more money. It's good for your own sanity. You've got to, whenever you've been in any job or any career for a number of years, it's natural to feel a degree of, is this it? Like, is there going to be anything else that excites me? The stuff that used to excite me maybe doesn't excite me as much anymore. That's normal for any career that you've been in for a while. And I think one of the big ways to save yourself from that kind of burnout is you've got to protect yourself from having too many projects that like steal your soul, that are just not where you want to be. And the best way to protect yourself from doing that is to have good boundaries and be very clear on what works and what you don't want. I really do think that's important. I've seen a big difference in my own business, myself as a businessman, following these rules I've set for myself and getting really clear on this stuff. I'm pretty sure it will work for you regardless of the industry you're in. And definitely if you're in marketing or SEO like I am, this stuff, big time. Especially if you're in business for yourself and not simply working for somebody else. Obviously, it's harder to do when you have a boss who's telling you, tolerate this project or this client no matter what. Well, your hands are kind of tied. But if you're doing it on your own, where you're in charge and you can set the pace and the tone, definitely, this makes a huge difference. Thanks for watching, guys.